Hari Om. How can we be sure that God exists in us? Once an attendant asked Bhagavan this question, and Bhagavan replied him saying that you say you breathe. Who is breathing in you except God? So the very act of breathing itself is happening as an act of God within us, an act of the divine within all of us, because it is not a voluntary action by us. The breathing happens by itself. And there is one another implied thing which Bhagavan has not mentioned and which will be quite interesting for us to reflect and understand. The I thought is the root of all other thoughts, and the source of the I thought is the pure I, the presence of Bhagavan, Aham. Now, the I thought and the breath rise up from the same source, which is the pure I. So, Bhagavan has mentioned that breathing happens by the Supreme, Bhagavan himself. It is an act of the divine. So likewise, the rising of the I thought too is an act of Bhagavan within all of us. So how exactly I thought makes so many things happening around all of us. Now, it is because of the pure I or the Aham that the divine revealed itself as the I am or the Aham. So the Aham gives us the self-awareness. Now from that Aham or the presence of Bhagavan or the pure I is the source for the rising of the I thought and as well as the breath. So it is because of the rising of the I thought or the ego we develop the Dehatma Buddhi. I am the body consciousness. I am a person so and so with this body, and thereby we identify ourselves with this body, mind, etc. And based on that, thereafter we associate ourselves with the things of the world, the worldly objects, Vishayas. And once we start associating with the worldly objects, then based on that, based on the fact that we rising as ego, we become the doer of the actions and as well as the experiencer of the actions. So the sense of doership and the experiencership happens due to the rising of the I thought. So once we have this doership and experiencership, then naturally we own the actions which are being executed by our body and the mind. So it kind of creates fresh samskaras. Basically, it means it creates the seeds for the new vasanas, which can kind of breed on the samskara and thereafter can make us to engage in the activities based on the new desires or the inclinations which are formed due to those imprints, the implanted imprints or the samskaras. So it is because of this doership one develops the kind of affinity towards one's actions, the deeds, and hence this causes further cycle of births as well as deaths. The cycle of birth and death keeps on going and going and going on and on and on because of the fact that we accumulate new vasanas which are the seeds of the desires, and because of these seeds of desires one will have to take further births again and again. So just as how breathing happens in all of us by the will of God, divine action, in the same way the cycle of births and deaths happen for all of us due to the will of God, and this happens by the new vasanas which are getting formed due to the sense of doership which happens with all of us. This is basically the divine plan to have the world with all forms of life, human beings who will be born, who will die, who will be reborn, who will engage in the activities of this world, thereby entangling oneself with these actions, the worldly objects, etc., and based on that develops fresh attachments and aversions on these worldly objects, which makes everyone to be bound to this world, and because of which one will have to return back to this earth for future births, etc. So this is basically the divine plan, the plan of the Bhagavan. But it is the same Bhagavan who has come in the form of our Guru, Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi, thereby revealing this ultimate path of Mahayoga to all of us, to the entire world, which can take one beyond this cycle of birth and death, releasing all of us from this entanglement called Dehatma Buddhi, the I thought. So it is the divine which has made us bound to this world by the I thought, and again it is also the same divine which has sent Bhagavan, who has given us this ultimate path, wonderful path of Mahayoga, thereby showing us the way out to get out of this entanglement of these worldly attachments and attain the total freedom and happiness, and makes us understand that there is really no kind of bondage in us, that we need to seek liberation from bondage, because Bhagavan always used to say that in the first place there is no bondage, there is no difference, so that we need to have liberation, or we need to unite back towards God, because we have not been separated from the God in the first place, and we have not had any kind of bondage. So there is no point in speaking about liberation or union with God, because even now, ever we are always in Bhagavan, and there is really nothing called bondage at all. So if we reflect deeply, we can understand this, that our real nature itself is the presence of Bhagavan in all of us. We are just some kind of thoughts, collection of thoughts, bundle of thoughts with some vasanas. And when we remove those vasanas and thoughts with the practice of Mahayoga, we experientially understand the fact that what is only the presence of Bhagavan in all of us. We as an individual do not really exist just for some thoughts and vasanas. So the moment we get rid of those thoughts and vasanas and experience the true nature of the presence of Bhagavan within, then we get the true understanding. We can recognize this final truth, that there is only presence of Bhagavan and nothing else. So there is no one to attain enlightenment or self-realization. What is only presence of Bhagavan. And since there is only presence of Bhagavan, there is no need for any kind of liberation, etc. So this presence of Bhagavan is there always in everyone, all the time, here and now. Only we just have to tune ourselves to this presence, which is ever existing, undecaying. Which never undergoes any change with time, which is self-revealing, self-shining, which exists by itself. So it is because of this grace of Bhagavan that we have got this ultimate path of Mahayoga. Thereby we can quickly eradicate this I thought by keeping our attention and focus on the source of the I thought, which is the presence of Bhagavan, the pure I within all of us. So to the extent we remain in the presence of Bhagavan or the pure I, to that extent I thought will become weaker and weaker, and with practice in due course of time we will be able to remain in pure I always, because the I thought would get eliminated in due course of time with the practice of Mahayoga, and we shall just remain as the pure I, thereby functioning in this world without adding any kind of new vasanas, etc. Thereby one will put an end to all kinds of bondage. We will be free from the vasanas, thereby ending this cycle of birth and death, which normally happens with the sustaining of the I thought. So even though it is an act of God, even though the breathing and the rising of the I thought is an act of God, it is also the same God who has revealed us this wonderful path of Mahayoga, by which we eradicate this I thought, thereby totally remaining in the presence of Bhagavan, with the understanding that there is only the presence of Bhagavan forever, eternally. Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala.